What's good, YouTube? This your girl Shaki, and I am back with another video. I know I've been away for like a while, since sometime in 2021, and now we are in 2022. So yes, we gonna get into the video. I'm gonna be doing a remake of my miscarriage story. Gonna be doing a story time on my miscarriage. I've initially made the first video, but the sound was so low, like you could literally barely hear me in the video. And not only that, I've made the video late at night, so I wasn't trying to be loud, but yeah. And do not mind the attire. It is literally early in the morning, and I've gotten up because I was cleaning around my apartment, so do not mind my attire, and like, subscribe, and hit the post notification bell. So SK gang, Shaki gang, if you want to hear this story, continue to watch this video. Okay, so before I had my two boys, even then he was the father of my first baby that I was pregnant with. Me and him, you know, we at the time we were on and off for 2-3 years, I shall say, around that time. And we will always spend time together, like literally always spend time together. If we wasn't working or doing anything important, we were literally around each other. At the time, I was still living under my mother's roof. He was still living under his mother's roof. And despite the fact of us being grown, his mother did not, at the time, you know, of me and him, when we first dated, his mom did not allow me to spend nights. My mom did not allow him to spend nights. Once we got into a year or two, that's when his mom and my mom was comfortable with us, you know, going over each other's houses and spending the night. So, and not only that, it was my first serious relationship. So we literally hung around each other and everything. And of course, within that, we were sexually active all the time, you know, doing the deal. So and so how the pregnancy situation came about was, you know, and I know it was the summertime at the time. Of course, it was the summer, and I'll never forget, it was the summer of May going into June. So all of a sudden, one of the first symptoms that I picked up was the sensitivity in my breast and nipples, because I've never felt that feeling before. Even when I would have my period, it would just never happen. But it started happening out of nowhere. I didn't think about like, oh, okay, I missed my period, because my periods would sometimes switch up on me. Sometimes I would come on at the very beginning of the month, and sometimes it would switch up on me and come like in the middle of the month, going towards the end. So that's why I didn't automatically think about missing my period or a missed period happening at that time. The second symptoms, I started feeling sick. I did not throw up, but I would feel nauseated. So like a few weeks later, I'll say 2 weeks, 3 weeks in, that's when the pregnancy came about. Because the more the days were approaching, you know, to go into a whole new month, I was like, ugh. So when me and him were walking to his house, this was before he had gotten his car, we were walking to his house, and you know, that's when I was spending the night over his house, when he had gotten his own place. So I told him, I said, I might possibly be pregnant, you know. And he was trying to convince himself that he did not get me pregnant. He wasn't like saying it like in a negative way, like, no, I didn't. But like, he was like not believing it, you know? Like, nah, I didn't even inside of you or anything like that. So I'm like, okay, let me just wait out these last few days, see what happened. My period didn't come, so that led me to asking my mom, like, oh, Mom, so what does it mean when your nipples are sensitive, like sensitive to where they like very uncomfortable and you could barely touch it? My mom, she automatically knew. She was like, oh, you might possibly be pregnant. So I told my mom, I said, Mom, I might possibly be pregnant. And I told her this in the morning. And that morning, he had came over with some McDonald's breakfast for me, my mom, and sister. Man, as soon as he walked up in the door, set the food down, my mom told him that I might possibly be pregnant. I didn't get my period, and that we need to go to like a store and get a pregnancy test. At the time where I was living, I lived across the street from a Family Dollar, so that's where we went. I went inside the Family Dollar, I got a pregnancy test, I paid for the pregnancy test, and I came back. Oh my God, as soon as I got back through the door, my mom told me go straight to the bathroom, and she was behind me. And you know, I've never peed on a pregnancy test before, so you know, she was literally over me, like while I was squatting and peeing on the pregnancy test. So my mom was like, oh, okay, you know, that's enough pee, and you know, she's anxious, you know, nervous. So I set the pregnancy test on the side of the sink, and I didn't drink anything. You know, I didn't drink anything. I didn't have no food to drink in my system yet, because they said that if you drink anything before taking a pregnancy test, it can affect the results. I don't know that to be true, but I heard that. So, and not only that, I had to pee really, really bad, because my mom told me, she was like, you know, don't pee yet. And I had just gotten up that morning. So, yeah. So after I took the test, I was peeing, and my mom had her eyes on the test. She would not take her eyes off of that test. And it was one of those tests to where it means one line you're not pregnant and two lines you are. Man, that second line popped up in the other window of the pregnancy test, and I did not look. She was like, Nashaya, you are. Like, my mom was just so shocked. Like, she was shocked. So she came out in the living room, because he was sitting on the couch quiet. You know, he's so nonchalant. He's such a nonchalant person. So she came out into the living room and told him, well, you're going to be a dad. She's pregnant. My mom was so nervous about it, and I was shocked. Like, I was in disbelief, because I didn't think that I could get pregnant. So the fact that the test was positive and that I actually was, it was a huge disbelief. I was like I couldn't even blink my eyes. I was just sitting there frozen. So my mom was like, so what are you gonna do? Are you gonna keep the baby? Are you gonna go with the next choice? So I had to really sit and think on it, like, because it just had to hit me that I was pregnant. So after I actually sat and thought about it, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna keep the baby. So my mom was like, okay, well, what did he say? The father of my child, he basically told me, you know, it's my body, it's my choice. You know, he didn't make me feel like, okay, you know, I don't want the baby, so we're gonna have to get an abortion type of thing. You know, he was very supportive on whatever decision I was making. Like, if I wanted to get an abortion, he was with it. If I wanted to keep the baby, he was with it. Or if I wanted to choose to put the baby up for adoption, he was going to be with that too. But that wasn't in one of my choices. So, yeah, he was with it. It was the month of June. And when I found out that I was pregnant, it was Father's Day that I found out. Told his mom and everything. So okay, we get into that. So after that, Lord, after that whole thing of me, being pregnant, I go to my OBGYN, she taking blood tests and everything. They have to test your blood, do all of this extra stuff to really confirm the fact that you're pregnant, and I was. So, my OB at the time, he basically, she was a good OB up until the fact that she had opened up another location. The other location of her OB office, her OBGYN's office, was closer to home to where me and my mom was and my sister. So I'm like, okay, we don't have to go across town anymore. So I scheduled my appointment because I never knew how far along I was, but I'm about to go get into that. So we would schedule appointments, and they'll tell us, the nurses or whatever will tell us, okay, she's not here, reschedule. So that's what I did. But it started to bother my mom more than anything, and it was starting to bother me because she was never at the second location. Every time we come in there, it was, oh, she's not here, she's in surgery at the other location, she's gonna be doing surgery on someone. And I'm like, okay. It was like she basically spent all this time at the first location and was never really at the second location. And I'm like, okay, well, she should have, some workers. Like, okay, you have workers in here for a reason, but they couldn't do anything without her consent. They couldn't do an ultrasound without her consent. They just basically couldn't do anything without her consent. So they were just there and sitting there. So that irritated me, that irritated my mom, because I was supposed to have gone for my first ultrasound and see how far along I was, and get the do's and don'ts list. Due to her canceling not only on me but other patients that was there, I never knew how far along I was or anything. I never got the do's or don'ts list, so I'm eating some foods that are risky to my pregnancy, and I'm not even knowing about it. So I'll say a week after, or I'll say 2 weeks at the most, after I turned 21, I started noticing bleeding. And so, of course I do my research. I don't know anything about pregnancy, so they said that it's common for for a woman to spot during her pregnancy. So I'm like, okay, no big deal. It was light blood, so I'm like, okay, I'm spotting. The spotting turned heavy, as if I was having a period. And I told my mom, and my mom was like, go to the hospital, just to see if things are all right, better safe than sorry. But my mom, she, of course she knew, but just didn't want to tell me. So we go to the doctor, I get checked in, they taking my blood and everything, they're checking me, they're checking me. And they confirmed the fact that I was pregnant, but due to me bleeding a lot, they ended up doing another ultrasound. They eventually ended up doing another ultrasound on me. And then, a few moments later, well, first off, my mom was there. The father of my, the father of my child was there. My aunt was there. So he came in, and he was like, do you want them to leave the room, or do you want them to stay in the room? Of course, my mom would have, want to be in the room, But, I was just like, okay, y'all, just stay in the room. You know, not off the fact that my mom wanted to stay in the room, but I was like, okay. Because I knew that it wasn't good. So that's when he finally told me that I was in fact having a miscarriage and I no longer showed signs of pregnancy. I bust out in tears. I'm sorry, y'all. I still get emotional about this today, 4 years later, and I still get emotional about this today. I was so devastated. I didn't eat anything. I didn't come out my room. I honestly felt like my OB, she failed me. She failed my unborn child because you wasn't present. What was the point of you opening up a second location if you weren't gonna consistently be there for other patients? Not just me, but for other patients as well. And I feel like she would have been there, a good support, and guided me through the right path as far as what to eat, what not to eat, what to do, what not to do, I feel like I wouldn't have had my miscarriage, you know. And I blame myself, you know, convincing myself like, damn, I can't, you know, I'm not able to have no more kids. Or before finding out the miscarriage, my mom did suggested that we go to another OB because she was being very unprofessional and was just not showing up to appointments like she was supposed to. So we did schedule with an OB, with a new OB, but the date was further. So while I was waiting on, you know, the date to go to the OB to see how far along I was and to do a whole ultrasound, in between that I ended up having a miscarriage and I ended up losing the baby. I was so devastated. The devastation in my heart, I've never been through hurt like that before. You know, ever, never been through hurt at all like that before. So it was very devastating to me. All I have is a pregnancy test. That's all. And all I have is pictures of me going into the hospital, being in a hospital bed, sitting in a waiting room to get seen in the back to see what was going on with me and my child. And it's just one of those things that stick with you. And any mother that has been in my position or is in my position knows my feeling on losing a child in general. And it does hurt. It doesn't matter how long it's been. It does hurt. It's still devastating. You know, me, thank God, 2 kids later, and every time I think about it, it's still devastating. You know, the pain doesn't go away. You know, just because, you know, us mothers, you know, sometimes us mothers that lost a baby tend to not really talk about it or don't want to get on a subject about it. It was a point in life where I just couldn't even talk about it at all. So it's very, 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 very big of me to talk about it on my channel, because I couldn't even get the first few sentences out about it because I would cry really, really bad. So the fact that I'm not doing that it's really big. It's a really big thing for me. And yeah, so and after I had the miscarriage, they wanted to schedule to see me again, to check me and everything as far as the bleeding goes. Honestly, I ended up not even going because I didn't want them touching me, knowing that I was bleeding out like that. So, but the nurses were very nice. They checked up on me. They called and checked up on me. My mom picked up the phone for them and everything, and because they knew how heartbroken I was. So yeah. And the OB, the unprofessional OBGYN, due to her being so unprofessional and not showing up to the second location that she opened, it got closed down, first off, and I think they ended up taking her license. Like, we've never heard from her again after that. But however, when I went to a new OB, when I was pregnant with my rainbow baby, one of her old nurses that used to work with her told us everything as far as her, and honestly, it was nothing but karma, because you don't abandon your patients. You don't do that in general. But yeah, that is my story. Any mother that is currently going through a loss of your unborn child or a loss of your baby even after you had them, this story that I'm telling is good to watch. I will not lie, I blame myself for it. Like, what did I do wrong? And it is normal to feel like that. It's normal to feel like that you're the blame when really you are not. You are not the blame. Do not make yourself feel like that. You are the blame for it, because you are not. I was convincing myself that I couldn't even carry another child. And my miracle happened a year later after my miscarriage, and I got my rainbow baby. And I was very nervous about that pregnancy, very scared, because of the traumatic experience with the miscarriage. But thank God everything turned out good. But yes, do not blame yourself. Do not make yourself feel like it is your fault when it is not. You know, we're women. We can basically, we have different ways of grieving about the loss of our kids, of our unborns. Or, you know, like as I said, you know, if you did have your child come into the world and their life was short-lived, you know, it's people, us women deal with it differently. And unfortunately, I never knew how far along I was. I never even gotten a picture of my baby. All I got is, you know, the pregnancy test. You know, I have the littlest memories. But I wish I would have at least had a picture. But it's okay. I will not lie. I'm still heartbroken about it at times. And I miscarried on July 16th of 2017. That is crazy. And it's been that long since it happened. So, but yes, that is my story time on my miscarriage. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and push that post notification bell, and I will see you all in the next video.